a time where they say this is a free-for-all. All crime is legal for the next 24 hours. That's the concept of the purge, right? That is not the case here in any way, shape, or form. What this law actually does, this is just redressing bail. You are not being given and invited for any free-for-all for crime. If they say you're dangerous, you're accused of these felonies, if you're accused of a violent crime, you're just going to be detained. My name is Olayemi Olurin. You can call me Olay. I am a public defender for the Legal Aid Society in New York. I am a political commentator and what I would just generally like to call a professional loudmouth. Our cash bail system, the way it works is people set bail on you, the court set bail on you, and if you have the money, you get out, you can buy your freedom, and if you don't, you sit in. And it really doesn't have a public safety component. It's often talked about that in the media. People, the minute you talk about cash bail, they go, oh, well, you want danger, crime. It has nothing to do with that. The actual legal reason why we have bail is to ensure that someone returns to court. That's the actual legal standard. When you go in court, it's not about whether or not this person is a safety risk. It's about whether or not you think they'll return to court. And our cash bail system weaponizes poverty as like, oh, you're poor, so we got to keep you in. And so then what happens is anybody poor just sits in jail pre-trial for years and years at a time. So that cash bail system, by eliminating that, what this does is it doesn't mean that anybody is out or free for all, which, not for nothing, I want to say this. People being out, there's statistics actually do not support this idea that our media perpetuates that crime is being committed by people who are out on bail. That's just not the case. But even if you did, whether or not you're on bail, whether or not detained, not detained, if you're out and you violate a term of your release, you will be sent back. So this idea that like, oh, by having people out, they're going to commit all this crime and that goes unchecked. But that's just categorically untrue. But what the new system will do, the Pretrial Fairness Act, when it comes into place in January 2023, it actually does have a public safety component in it that didn't exist before. Because now what happens is misdemeanors and low-level arrests, okay, you can't detain on this. But felonies, and most felonies are anywhere where it's violent crime, where the prosecutor could allege or articulate any grounds that you are a public safety, you actually pose a danger to public safety, you will just be detained. So in a world where you did pose a threat to public safety, but with cash bail, you have the money, you're out, regardless of how much you might endanger the public. But in this new rule, in this new system, the prosecutors and the judges do actually get to take into consideration public safety stuff and also add credence to our presumption of innocence, because now, instead of a mere accusation, the prosecutor actually has to articulate something, some actual grounds or evidence for why they want to detain you. The purge is a time where they say this is a free-for-all. All crime is legal for the next 24 hours. That's the concept of the purge, right? That is not the case here in any way, shape, or form. What this law actually does, this is just redressing bail. That's all this is addressing bail. You are not being given and invited for any free-for-all for crime. Police can and will arrest everybody and their mama. But all this means is that, all right, so you commit crime. Instead of us saying, oh, we're going to put, this amount of money and you can leave, you can get out of jail whether or not you pose a danger to us or not. And if you don't have the money, you'll go in even though you don't pose a danger to us. What this says is, if you are committing crime or dangerous crime and you pose a safety risk to the public, you have violated a term of release before, or there's evidence to show that you will be a flight from prosecution, you will just be detained. A matter of factly, the court and the prosecutor, the judge and the prosecutor have the discretion to have you detained pre-trial altogether. But if you're accused of a misdemeanor or low-level or non-violent offense and there is no evidence, the prosecutor is not able to articulate a ground for why you pose a safety risk, they cannot keep you in jail pre-trial simply because you don't have the money. So it eliminates that aspect and actually adds credence to our presumption of innocence by requiring the prosecutor to actually have to allege some facts against you rather than there's an accusation and now I'm in jail. You want to live in a civil society where you have the presumption of innocence. There's a reason why America touts that so much. This idea that you can't just be accused of something and be thrown away. But advocating for a bail system where these people have only been accused of crimes. Evidence has not been presented. That's not what happens at arraignments. You can make an accusation. If right now I say you called me 15 times, cursing me out, you will be arrested for aggravated harassment in the 3rd degree in New York City. And it doesn't matter that I don't have to show up at arraignments. I don't have to show them any proof that you threatened me. I don't have to show them any call. All you need to do is make a mere accusation. So it actually does a lot more for adding legitimacy to a criminal system that so many people, and insist that we should maintain our faith in and give an effort at reform. These incredibly just completely erroneous infographics that have been flying around. So, and people are reading that and thinking, oh, these people can't be, that's not what that means. What it means overall is we no longer will have a cash bail system. right? Just period. No cash bail system. It's not that, oh, these people accused of these crimes, oh, now they can't be detained because no cash bail. That's not what that means. If they say you're dangerous, you're accused of these felonies, if you're accused of a violent crime, you're just going to be detained. If they can articulate any kind of public safety danger against you of those felonies, now you're just detained pre-trial regardless of whether or not you could come up with any money. So it doesn't mean people accused of murder, any violent crime, most of these felonies, it in no way means now you're free. No, actually it means you are detained. The only difference is your freedom isn't based on a dollar amount. It's your freedom isn't determined based on your poverty. I love that they keep making this out to be this super radical effort, but places like New Jersey passed this equivalent in 2014 under Republican Governor Christie. They already eliminated cash bail. And how this actually works in application is just merely that most of these misdemeanors and traffic infractions and things that would never have been resolved with criminal cases, because I think that's the thing people don't realize so much about the system, is most things would not be resolved in a criminal conviction. What happens is most things wouldn't even be punishable by jail time. But because of the bail system, people who otherwise would not have been sentenced to jail, they wouldn't go to jail. There wouldn't be a way to impose that on them and prove it to them. Now they go to jail. So now what we do now is how it will be done under this new law is traffic infractions, misdemeanors, low-level, non-violent crimes. They can't detain you unfairly. But everything else, you're gonna be detained.